Fine. Anyway, back to the game that we are actually supposed to be talking about. It is Overwatch, and we've been having an enjoyable time witnessing some upsets. In fact, actually at the top half of the bracket now, we get to see Reunited, who looked incredible. They're going to be going up against the main men. Let me get it right. I do believe it is Anox. Yeah, Anox, who did just pick up that 2-0 in rather convincing fashion as well. So that's going on up there.
Life was all like... And United like, ah.
Oh, that's a Genji.
That's how I summarize the match.
That was good. I think you want to go more for the kind of the shuriken throw. That was.
We should get some shuriken.
Oh, we were stood here for the cast, and you were like a kid in the candy shop. You were like, Cypher, come on!
Yeah, and then you come in the analysis and go, yeah, forget about those flashy plays.
I know.
Zarya.
Well,
shields on people.
Zarya's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
The flashy plays are flashy for a reason, to be fair.
Now we're going to stop making silly sounds with our mouths and actually breach that subject for a little bit more depth. Zarya. As a pick, has been falling into this kind of almost compulsory presence within the meta, and I want you to highlight exactly why that is, John.
Well, it's a little bit tricky with Zarya because I think everybody acknowledges Zarya is one of the most, if not the most, highest skill cap hero in the game. Okay. Knowing when to place your shields both on yourself and on a teammate, so that they absorb as much damage as possible to power up your own weapon, has become something where. I mean, like, I think, I forget her name off the top of my head, but there was a Korean...
I was hoping you'd bring this up. It's an awesome... Did you see it, Dan?
I heard about it, but I didn't. I was traveling at the time. So
it was so good, wasn't it?
This Korean, this very young, she's like 17,
yep.
So this Korean girl, and she was so good at Zarya that people didn't think it was legitimate. Like, to the point where she had to record herself playing to show everyone that, you know, she was that good with this hero.
There were 2 pro players that basically called her out and said, if you're actually this good at the game, we will quit esports. She went on to a TV show and recorded herself playing in pub games as Zarya for an hour live. And the people who called her out actually quit.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
I like that because at least they committed. Because people say things all the time. Like, I'm going to retire. There's the classic.
Yep.
Never do that, by the way. Never say you're going to retire because it's just you always come back and look like a fool.
I guess going back to the original point, Zarya is just such a high skill cap. If you absolutely nail your timings on when the shields go up, because don't forget, it's as much that as when you have a shields on a teammate, there's 8 seconds where it can't be on someone else, and you have to really judge the scenario based on your opponent's team composition, who you know is deaded back at spawn, and who you know is right in front of you at the time as well. Once you actually have a full understanding of that, great. You now have to do it in every situation, on every point, on every map. At that point, you can confidently say to yourself, actually, I'm pretty good at Zarya. So we're going to see more Zarya play, in my opinion, moving into the future.
I do think, you know, you can't skim over the ultimate as well and just how influential that can be. This Graviton Surge that just...
pretty useful.
It's mind-blowingly useful if you want to break those choke points.
Especially in a meta where Genji has come back into the fore, because previously you Graviton Surge and you go, haha, I have a Reinhardt, here's a shield, and you can kind of get away with a lot of it. When Genji's coming at you from 5 different angles with the sword, makes it a little bit harder.
Awesome stuff. And perhaps we'll be seeing that synergy in our next game. That's where we're going to take our conversation next. We get to see MISFITS going up against SG-1 in our quarterfinal. Of course, we do bring you, 1 round of 16 and 2 round of 8, and this is our second round of 8. We're going to get to see a little bit more, a little taste, a little smidgen of what the guys at the other side of the bracket can do. Now, MISFITS is a name you're familiar with, as is SG-1, John. You've casted both of them recently?
Yeah, that's right. SG-1 last night, actually.
So he's got the fresh gossip.
Where they lost to Reunited, which is particularly interesting.
Can we just specify
Reunited. 2 Easy's new team.
Okay.
And with the 2 former players from Anox there as well. And MISFITS, of course, formerly known as Graviton Surge. They were at TakeOver as well. They've always been, and I know there's a bit of a reluctance to use this term, they've always been the second-tier team breaking on in. But I think MISFITS are now where Anox will be in a couple of weeks. Okay. Because I was having a conversation with another Overwatch caster a week ago where we were like, oh, well, who's actually your top EU teams at the moment? I was taking a look at Reunited. I was like, Rogue maybe has dropped off a bit. And then at some point in the conversation, we went, so what about MISFITS? And I said, well, they're actually getting their act together and they're practicing really hard. They're scrimming with so much focus that they are getting up there. But I'm not convinced they're that finished product yet where they're consistently fighting for the finals finishes to get in the money. They're at a point now where I think their stock is rising and they are better than their quote-unquote official ranking suggests. And I think Anox are going to be the next team to be in that place. But MISFITS has been on the ascension for a while.
Dan, at what point do you think we can start reading into these rankings as more of a pattern?
Well, the thing is that there's always, I mean, we have updates all the time, really. That just shifts everything. But but generally speaking,
even now, do you think we can take them? You know, do we take them with a pinch of salt, or we actually start believing, you know, well, holding them down in concrete T1, T2, T3?
I think now it's going to be easier because one of the biggest changes is, of course, having the multiple heroes selection kind of gone. Now it's just, you know, one hero per team, and I think that's gonna, you can have like, you can build a core around that, a core of understanding, and there's less mix-ups you can have, and if there are balance changes, it's much easier to factor in, and also because these players have been playing for so long at this point, you have more versatility in the players that you have in your team anyway to switch roles as and when the need arises. So I think we're going to start to see that now, and actually, you know, into the next 6 months, I think we'll start to really solidify, you know, who really are the best teams, the best brains behind the game. Because in reality, it's all about the thinking aspect, you know, so about picking the right compositions, about knowing how to use them. And if you have, you know, someone like, let's say, who's, you know, got loads of raw skill, like Cypher is really good at picking moments, you know, you can have these guys, you know, leading the team who are able to then say, you know, to these players that might not be as cerebral, okay, this is how you're supposed to play around us. And I think we're kind of getting there.
Might not be as cerebral. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a word that
we're going to be like, that wasn't particularly cerebral.
There you go.
Oh, no, this is an
Master 101. I'm definitely not calling them.
This last month, cerebral is just, I don't know who started it. I'm blaming either you or Henry G. Everyone is saying cerebral now, and it needs to stop. Stop saying cerebral. It's a nice sounding word.
It's good though. I used to call Happy when Happy was in his like for those Counter-Strike fans, when he was in his prime, actually at a point when he was like the best player in the world. He was a very smart player, so I used to call him the Cerebral Assassin. That was like my little nickname for him.
It's actually pretty
Cerebral
cool.
Assassin.
I mean, I feel
Cypher in danger of taking that title for Overwatch then.
Maybe, just maybe. Where do you stand on this debate then, John? You know, the balance between mechanical and cerebral. I've used it once. That's the last time I'm going to use it. Cerebral and mechanical balance.
I think a lot of it comes down to how well teams gel together, which isn't necessarily one or the other. There will be a baseline of mechanical skill that allows you to be incredibly good at the game, but the limit for where that skill stops and where your teamwork begins is a lot lower for Overwatch than it is for other FPSs. Teamwork is so crucial because of the different abilities and different ultimates that we have in this game. And for that reason, dovetailing into the other conversation we had, I think the rankings, therefore, are almost more to be trusted initially than down the line.
Okay.
The reason I say this is as follows. Teams won't necessarily have worked out all the new metas, new maps when they came in from ages ago, new hero in terms of Ana, various other things, and the gap between the teams is going to get less. We had great instances of either good teamwork because teams have been together forever, reunited, or fantastic showcases of individual skill. And that tended to propel teams to the top of the rankings. Moving forward, as teams slowly gather both, we're going to see, yes, Envious are at the top. They might be at the top by a much smaller margin than they were 3 weeks ago, for example, and our quote-unquote upsets will begin to get more common.
And we'll be seeing more and more of that. We've already witnessed an upset today in the European region. We're just seeing the swift dispatch of the big dogs of the European region. You saw, of course, Anox just kind of walking through them.
Yep.
That was a pleasure to watch, and we'll be seeing more of them later on. But we are actually ready to get into game. And so, gentlemen, Misfits SG-1 is about to begin. I want to know, like, do you have any predictions for this one before we jump into our first map? John, I mean, you've seen them both play. You saw Misfits get ripped apart. Or was it SG-1?
SG-1, actually, yesterday, yeah. If you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said SG-1 probably has the upper hand here. The fact is, Misfits is on the ascension. I actually really like a lot of the players on their team. I think Skipjack is one of the best Reinhardts in the world. SG-1, if they have a good day when Zappis is on form, he can absolutely annihilate the opposing team. Very similar to what we saw Cypher do in that previous match when he's actually there. So this is going to be our match now, best of 3, and a familiar starting map. It is Dorado.
Dorado, yes. Yes, we opened up with this one on the European broadcast here today, and it's a nice map. It's a nice map. I'm quite curious to see if we'll see the similar setups. I guess it's quite likely. Right now, of course, we have the defense right behind the archway and a few players looming over the top, but...
Ana.
Right, yes.
Ana, ladies and gentlemen, Nevix is playing Ana on the side of Misfits. I'm really looking forward to this. Skipjack on Reinhardt. Zephasai is going to be playing Zenyatta. Soon has decided to go up onto D.Va in this current meta. Zapre on his McCree. And Crew on Genji. We'll see if he can match the heights that we saw in our previous games. But Nevix is the one to watch.
Talking about Ana building up the charge there, we actually see a lot of charge being built by Ana immediately. And, well, I have to see if that ult is going to pay off when it is finally utilized, but Payload's making its way through the archway right now. You can see Reinhardt making the defense there. Can they actually survive this push? I like how they're actually all retreating around the side to make a better angle. Just realizing quickly that the initial attack's not going to work. Reinhardt will be able to focus his teammates back and around the side into the upper ground there behind the archway, looking to try to break the payload, and already we get all the kills coming in right now here for MISFITS, looking very good indeed.
Yeah, and everybody going down there. A little bit difficult for SG-1 to start. MISFITS doing an incredible job of keeping the payload inside the archway. So there's always the debate, are you staying where MISFITS are now and patiently using the open area to your advantage, or do you be hyper-aggressive and move through the archway and try and send them back to spawn? MISFITS are doing the safe thing here. It's a long way back from their spawn point to get to this position. They want to make sure they keep all 6 alive as long as possible.
And MISFITS have a lot of ultimates to work with now as well, and Anna's is coming up pretty soon. What would you most like to see them use, or how should they synergize here to make the best attack?
Well, I think for SG-1 they need to get to a position where they are sort of building up ultimate, because ultimately when you have 3 ultimates versus 1 to use, it's very difficult, especially in the initial stages of a payload map where it's just not quite as possible to steamroll and build that momentum. And right now they're doing that. They technically have been put back to spawn from that fight, but it's now 4 ultimates versus 3, whereas previously everything was on the side of MISFITS, right?
Yeah, we're seeing a bit more sashimi there. We got the 4 kill coming in from Fry on Genji ultimate, of course. And that said, of course, we do have a bit of a hold still. The payload is just well and truly in the archway. We get another attempt coming in. Can SG-1 break this? Looks like we get a bit of an offensive play here from the defenders, pushing past the archway, seizing the opportunity. They saw it, they realized there's a bit of an opening, and sometimes it can be okay to go a bit too deep, as long as you know when to pull back. And that's exactly what they showed there, that understanding of timing. And
Nevik so far doing a really, really good job of just supporting the team there on Ana. We should probably talk a little bit. That dart, by the way, the same nanotechnology or biotechnology used by Soldier 76. If it hits a friendly, it boosts their healing. If it hits an enemy, it slowly reduces their hit points over time. So very, very important there, just to keep healing up. Crew trying his best to continue dicing away on Genji, but he has been spotted and he's constantly getting whisked away. Mafu is on Zarya, but look, who's being shielded right now and what are the priorities? There's about 5 fights going on. It's really tricky, but wow, all of those individual fights conveniently work out in their favor for once.
And that is definitely going to be pushing them pretty far forward. The MISFITS have claimed the marketplace.
And they've got 3 ultimates available as well. This is going to be crucial when they come through the door, because quite often the first dogleg is just a little bit tricky for teams to navigate when they first encounter the teams on the high ground. So having Transcendence there from Zebasai might actually buy them enough time to get around that initial place and regroup for a second push.
It's going to be fun to see how Anna's going to work out from up top here. Again, we can see the high ground there used, and there it is. Play coming in as they try to lay waste to their opponents who are trying to make their way over there onto the payload. And so far, I mean, this setup is actually pretty tough to break. You can see kind of going nuts there. And oh, there it is. Finally, we see the Graviton Surge used, and that's a very nice place to use it. Trying to get the damage up there is quite difficult, though. But will it be enough of a distraction to actually get that payload moving? Looks like all the fights are breaking out now.
Yeah, Crew doing a good job picking up 2 kills. The Graviton Surge, you'll note, didn't actually do too much damage because we did end up having Reinhardt shield up, but as soon as the follow-up knocked them off the balcony, that forced both teams into a very, very quick free-for-all. It ended up being an all-out brawl, and that actually favored MISFITS, who were more prepared.
And you can see that the high ground is starting to be whittled down, broken up, and it's not nearly as effective as the SG-1 side are trying to get themselves, rather the MISFITS are trying to get themselves into position. And it's quite difficult right now, the attacking side here. SG-1 able to get themselves straight on that payload, pushing it forwards as we get the regroup attempt coming in onto the high ground. And slowly but surely this payload is moving at the moment, so looking good.
One thing worth noting as well is that the health of these guys are just constantly going up. Zebasai and Nevik's combined is just doing such a good job, and Nevix actually has Ana's ultimate available as well. One of the things we need to call out for being a good Ana player is the ability to switch targets very quickly. If you have 5 teammates that need healing, that's fine. You have to fire 5 darts at 5 different players very quickly with successive shots without missing. It's a very, very important skill to have, and it's going to be crucial to a successful support player. So far, Nevix is doing a good job.
And trying to look for who's supporting Fraggy here. Let's see if we can get a play into the Transcendence is going to be going down as the push is trying to be made, but again, it's looking like...
Ooh, mistimed ultimate, I feel, from Nevix there, unfortunately. Anna using her ultimate, which basically boosts the healing damage output and lessens damage taken from your teammate, while more or less reducing or eliminating the healing done to your opponents as well. Very, very strong in a team fight, but as soon as it was popped, it was basically 3v6. So without having her teammates there, unfortunately, Anna not able to make the most of her ultimate.
And looking like the payload's moving pretty fast as well. I mean, we saw that point previously being pretty hard to take very quickly, but you feel like this is in part committing to Anna that's causing the issue?
It's difficult to tell because, frankly, there just haven't been many situations where we're looking at Anna in competitive play just yet. But right now, they're certainly sticking with her. Would it be better served by... I don't know, would there be better served by Lucia or another support hero, for example? It's a little bit unclear. Anna and Zebasai, I feel like both of them combined so far are actually doing an okay job. Yes, they're getting pushed back. No, I don't think it's reason to panic.
Yeah, we've seen this on Dorado that many times it looks pretty bad in the first couple of checkpoints, but this is the truly difficult one, of course. And do you think it would be wise to make some switches? I mean, again, as you said, they are committing here, but there is the play. You get the ultimate there from D.Va, trying to clear some space, maybe missing the mark somewhat, but still, you get sort of Matthew popping back into the mech, getting himself up there with a defensive matrix, clearing space right now for this attack.
Well, let's see what these guys end up doing, because if you think about it, Himsy hasn't exactly had like a quad kill or something like that on Genji so far. He's had a relatively quiet game, but he still has been able to put the damage in. So let's see which points SG-1 are feeling particularly weak right now. SATA on Lucia hasn't been doing that well, and Kainel, I mean, his Transcendence timing has actually been quite good, but he hasn't been able to back that up with getting the damage reduced from Marfu using the defense matrix. So it's kind of little bits of everything as opposed to one big problem for SG-1 right now.
Time is running low though, and we do have a couple ultimates there on Zappis and Himsy, so let's see if that can be good enough. I mean, it would be quite difficult to try to combine there. I mean, Genji really wants something to combine with. And we are seeing, again, just using this high ground to good advantage, sticking together with Reinhardt, providing the cover with that shield, and trying to push the attackers straight out.
They might be able to do that. I mean, this is actually a really narrow choke point. And D.Va does have a self-destruct available, so that's going to be really tricky. And if they do get out into the open, Zafri will be able to go ahead and unleash his ultimate as well. So McCree and D.Va, they've got a couple of options there. Skipjack, of course, always useful as a backup if things get too close. But Misfits right now, they're just looking to hold as much as possible on the final point. They don't care how long it took for the payload to get here. They just need a full hold.
And so far, it's not looking too bad, actually. And let's see if they can make it work. They are pushing the payload back and pushing the attack back, as well as time is starting to run very low indeed for SG-1. And you can see right there, Zafri is getting a lot of free shots in. Again, the defensive shield as the Reinhardt's pushed all the way back to spawn there. So that's massive problems right now for SG-1 with 20 seconds left to push the payload. They don't look even close to doing so just yet. But here is the last-ditch attempt.
Yeah, and there are 4 ultimates available on the defensive side as well. And I'm really worried if this is a big team fight, we might see a better time and really good ultimate come out of here from Nevix. Nevix is patiently waiting for the correct time now. D.Va with the self-destruct to start the initiation, but that doesn't actually do very much. Marfu getting a new suit as well, looking to try and fly in. And we're waiting to see when Nevix is going to unleash. There is the ultimate from Nevix. So Misfits at the moment basically supercharging their entire team, counteracted by Transcendence coming out from Kainel. Are we going to see SG-1 finally able to push the payload here? We've also staggered ultimates with Lucio's sound barrier, but at the moment, there aren't that many kills on the kill feed.
Genji and D.Va causing problems, really depositioning Zafri from being able to DPS to his best ability to stop the push from coming in as that payload is moving quite precariously close on to that final point. Looks like they're going to be able to make it right now as SG-1 are so close. They just have to break this initial defense, this last defense potentially here from Misfits. And once again, Himsy doing work with Genji, and there it is.
Wow. So Nevix actually had a really, really good ultimate there, and I thought it gave Misfits a very strong advantage in that team fight until they staggered the Transcendence and then the sound barrier on the other side. SATA particularly waited until Transcendence had stopped to get the full effect out of that, and that is what allowed SG-1 to push in. So a very, very nice half. They were in danger of some time of not even completing, but they did manage to get there in the end.
Yeah, it feels like that can happen quite often on Dorado, but I do want to see well, a bigger hold when it comes on to the second point, though. That's always a fun dynamic with the high ground there. We have a lot of fun engagements and synergies with the ultimates. But let's see how this one goes as we get the sides swapping, of course. And I'm quite curious how committed the initial defense will be. Will it be, far back? Do they have a different setup, or are they just going to go with the bog standard, hold onto the arch, and leave it at that?
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if they do have a different approach. Swapping sides as well. I'll be curious to see if Nevik stays on Ana. I don't want to speculate right now because there's 45 seconds for them to choose a different hero. And too often we have pro teams basically trolling us, thinking they're going to pick, oh, it's a Torb, and they swap over with 2 seconds left to go, and I'm just super sad.
No love for Torbjorn.
Maybe if we see Numbani.
Do you think that's likely?
I don't think it's likely we'll see Numbani, but I think if we see Numbani, I think it's likely we'll see Torbjorn. We'll see. Maybe Volskaya, which is also even less likely to get picked than Numbani. But hey-ho, a man can dream, Dan. A man
can indeed dream.
So SG-1, they're getting set up on the high ground and being quite patient. I want to see if they're holding behind the archway or if they're looking to hold the high ground over here. Mafu is playing Zarya again. Of course, I've been a bit of a fan of Zarya today, but it is one of those heroes where when it's played well, you can really call it out. And when Zarya isn't played well, you go, actually, we need a little bit more DPS in the team. And Mafu, of course, used to main Widowmaker, so we'll see how well he's able to do here.
Well, we already have a lot of charge built there by Mafu, as expected, which is going to be really important as the push comes in from MISFITS, getting close to the arch now. And we get actually SG-1 dropping off of the high point there, not wanting to allow any quick control of the arch here for the MISFITS side. And MISFITS, that's actually going to commit them in because they kind of felt like they had an in, but it's pretty heavily contested at this point. Quite unclear who's going to actually hold this one down, but full charge on Zarya will be problematic.
Yes, it will. They were looking to try and commit there. That's usually what the defense matrix is from Soon on D.Va, looking to see if they can sneak in up the arch. But this is the ultra-aggressive defense we were talking about. SG-1 now opting to go through the archway, take the fight to MISFITS, and say, we're actually happy to take you out one at a time. And a big part of that was landing those shields early and getting the damage down from Zarya.
And it's beautiful to see a team that is very cognizant of finding the spots to be aggressive and not just trying to play it very passively. But that said, after all is said and done, the dust settles. We've got a D.Va standing on the payload and pushing it forwards and out of the arch. So get the marketplace hold coming in here from SG-1. But for how long will they be able to hold it? We've got Reinhardt taking a lot of damage before his teammates were really even there. We have a bit of a high noon just to hold things off a little bit. And now there's time for the rest of SG-1 to come in. But we have problems right now for SG-1 because all the MISFITS trying to push in. We got a lot of damage on Genji there with the ultimate slicing and dicing.
Yep, Crew trying to stop, but he actually gets taken out by an Earth Shatter. Very important to stop the momentum there. Soon, the only player on MISFITS currently still alive, and SG-1 looking very, very strong right now. Everybody is getting beaten back, and it looks like they will be able to keep control of the payload.
I feel like when we're seeing Genji today, it reminds me of that guy from the Will It Blend commercials, if you remember that. Will it blend?
Will it blend? Will it slice? Yeah.
And hard shield, yes it will. It blends.
Everything blends in Genji's universe. One thing I will call out, though, Nevik has had a much quieter game than previously. There hasn't been a real need to constantly heal sort of all 6 of her teammates. Been very, very chilled out and just been focusing on 1 or 2 targets. The ultimate wasn't exactly the most game-changing we've seen. Is this the time where we think, hang on a second, maybe a Lucio would be useful here? I don't know.
Oh, that payload is starting to edge forwards a little bit, and it looks like MISFITS are holding on pretty well. Actually, starting to get that, looking at that door.
Looking at Nevik. He's down, and we're still staying on Ana. So we'll get to see a bit more play. Again, our sample size of seeing Ana in competitive play is very low at the moment, and these guys will have scrimmed a lot more with her. So these teams know, yes, Lucio is a very useful hero, but they also know, actually, we think Ana is even better in this situation. So very keen to find out why.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a pretty important matchup. So here we go. We've got Frankie coming in from the side there on Reinhardt, looking to shield his teammates. We see, again, just very cognizant of building that Zarya charge, keeping Zarya useful with the high DPS. And we get the push coming in from MISFITS. So it's just really about when the drop down is going to occur. But there it is. You get a couple players dropping down with the Graviton Surge. And all the combinations are there right now for SG-1 to push back MISFITS. They've broken it with the Graviton Surge.
Yeah, and everyone except Soon is dead, and that's really, really unfortunate for Misfits. I think some of the compositional differences between the teams here that we should be watching out for. Soon needs to use D.Va to try and contest the high ground. So we need to see D.Va flying in to the first floor of the church. We need to see the defensive matrix get popped, especially when SG-1 are clumped up on top, and we need to use that as the initiator for Misfits to get the high ground. They didn't have the opportunity to do that in the last fight. They got wiped pretty quickly. They need to switch it up.
I like this, we just saw there, just a bit of high noon just to get the Reinhardt into position. And now they've got that upper ground, as you're saying. Let's see if they can use it. The problem for them is that Paylo's starting to move underneath the arch here, and do we get the drop? I can see the missiles are probably quite paranoid. The drop will come in. You can see the defensive matrix just being popped there, just toggled on and off, as we have SG-1 waiting for the moment to strike at the moment, and they are starting to go in, but they will be deflected by the McCree there. Zapri doing some good work, as well as D.Va. Zenyatta getting in there as well, and MISFITS again looking pretty good. This was a pretty clean push.
That was excellent stuff from Soon. That is what we needed to see from him last time, and now he's really getting into the swing of things. D.Va being the vanguard for the team, popping the defensive matrix, knowing when to actually shield in, and then while the rest of the team gets set up and SG-1 go, hang on a second, we actually have to deal with this, basically unleashing the might of her DPS. She picks up a couple of kills there, very, very nicely played, and Nevix is building towards another ultimate.
SG-1 looking rather stretched. These ultimates start to come into play at a key moment. There is 4 minutes to try to push this payload all the way. And very nice charge coming in there from Mr. Reinhardt, as we are going to see a bit of chaos again. But SG-1 looking like they're able to actually somewhat hold. They're causing some issues.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they need to cause enough issues to make sure the team gets staggered in their deaths. Because what you want is opposing players trickling in, you're able to kill them off, and once you get that into overtime, one small mistake, and they lose control of the game. Obviously, at this point, Misfits are looking to also complete, so we'll see if they're able to do that in a faster time.
You can see Crew moving in there with the Genji, looking to try to get themselves some action here. The ultimate's popped, and that is going to be a lot of dead players for SG-1, as he is going to be gutting them. Looking like a lot of problems are had here, just finding that perfect timing to get in there. So Misfits looking like they are good for this one.
At the moment, they're really powering through. They're trying to get all the way through to the final choke point. They managed to do it. Very, very nicely played there, and I believe that should be a victory for Misfits.
So that was pretty clean, actually. How do you feel about that one? Was that the way you would expect it to go again, having recently casted some of these teams?
I think that I was always particularly interested in how Anna actually performed for Misfits, and in that situation, I think there were some hits and some misses. Especially the first part of the map on defense. I thought Anna was swapping between targets and really providing good utility in a way that perhaps Zenyatta could not, because you can't just be swapping orbs between players once every 2 seconds and expect everything to go smoothly. So I really like that. On attack, I was a little bit less convinced. There were 2 opportunities when Anna was using her ultimate where it didn't quite go down as well. A player we maybe didn't watch so much during the game, I thought Skipjack did a great job of holding the fort. There were very few, if I'm not even sure there were any situations where I was a bit worried the shield was going to go down or he wasn't able to cover in the right direction for his teammates. He was very, very solid.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Again, you know, calling out the supports that don't get as much love on the camera. But as far as the Anna usage, as you were saying, do you feel like the groundwork is somewhat, it makes sense, but they just have to iron out the kinks, or?
Yeah, I think there are going to be certain situations where Anna becomes less useful. When you're not necessarily wanting to heal 5 targets at once or damage 5 targets at once. So you have to be careful when other teams collapse onto you that you're able to spread the attention of the team so that not everybody is targeting a single hero. If you're able to do that, then utility is great. If you have a rogue Genji popping in the back and is not very maneuverable, boom, she goes down, and all of a sudden you've had one leg kicked out from underneath the team.
Well, we have seen a lot of good Genji play today, and we saw some in that matchup too. Will we see it in the next map that is coming up? We'll find out very shortly. First, it is time for a quick commercial break.